He used to say they were the perfect match. Mark had been with Anna for almost 5 years, and everything about their relationship looked right from the outside. They had a cozy apartment in a quiet neighborhood, matching coffee mugs, a Sunday breakfast tradition, and even a shared Spotify playlist titled, Us. Friends often told them they were couple goals, and even his mom adored Anna. Anna, with her quiet strength and thoughtfulness, grounded him. She wasn't flashy, didn't post every moment online, and didn't demand constant attention. She simply showed up for him. Always. When his father was sick, she drove 4 hours with him to sit at the hospital. When he lost his job 3 years ago, she picked up extra shifts. She'd rub his neck when he was stressed, leave notes in his lunch when he had big meetings, and remembered all the little things he forgot. He thought that was enough, that it would always be enough. But over time something shifted, not in her but in him. He started feeling off, restless, like something was missing though he couldn't name it. Their routines, once comforting, started to feel repetitive. She'd ask about his day and he'd give the same answers. He told himself it was just a phase. Everyone hits a rut. He didn't want to hurt her. He still loved her, at least he thought he did. Then came Jenna. She joined his team at work, sharp as hell, witty, loud in a room full of whispers. The kind of woman who wore red lipstick in morning meetings and made eye contact that lingered a second too long. She laughed at his jokes like they were clever, not canned. One late evening, while finishing a project, she leaned over his shoulder, close enough for him to smell her perfume. Citrus and danger. He told himself it was harmless. But the text started after that night. First about work, then about nothing. Inside jokes. And then came the "what would you do if you weren't taken?" question. It was meant to be flirty, just teasing. But his answer came too easily. "I'd be in trouble with you." He stared at the message for a full minute before pressing send. He never told Anna about Jenna. Not even as a colleague. The truth was, part of him liked that Jenna didn't know him as responsible Mark, devoted boyfriend. With her, he wasn't the guy who sorted laundry by color or grocery shopped every Thursday. He was interesting again. Desired. He didn't plan for anything to happen. But temptation doesn't usually knock. It slips in when you leave the door cracked. And somewhere between missed dinner plans and half-lies about late meetings, Mark forgot who he used to be with Anna. He didn't notice the way her smiles became shorter, or how she stopped leaving notes in his lunch. He was too busy chasing a version of himself he barely recognized. It wasn't until that one message went to the wrong woman that everything shattered. Started with a kiss. Quick, impulsive, after a late meeting turned into drinks. Mark didn't plan it. He told himself that more than once. They were standing too close. She laughed at something he said, brushed his arm, and suddenly his lips were on hers. No thinking. Just instinct. When it ended, they stared at each other, not speaking. She smiled. He didn't. The next morning, he didn't feel guilt. Just a nervous buzz. Like he'd gotten away with something dangerous. Anna kissed him goodbye like she always did. Coffee in one hand, car keys in the other. He watched her leave and felt a knot in his stomach he couldn't untangle. He told himself it was a one-time mistake. But the second time didn't take much convincing. A weekend conference, a shared hotel bar, and Jenna texting him late. Still up? He was. She came to his room. This time he didn't stop her. He didn't even try. Back home he returned to normal. Or tried to. Anna asked how the conference went. Productive, he said. She smiled. Glad you're home. He couldn't look at her. The affair grew. Not just physically, emotionally. They had their own world now. Private jokes, subtle touches at work. A separate text thread hidden behind a fake name. Jenna called him her secret. That excited him more than it should have. Mark started changing. He shaved more often. Dressed sharper. Anna noticed. Trying to impress someone, she teased. He laughed too loud. She didn't press. He started avoiding her at home. Coming late. Claiming stress. I'm just tired. He kissed her less, touched her less, loved her less, but she didn't push. Maybe she trusted him too much. He was careful. Thought he covered every track. Deleted messages. Cleared call logs. Turned off notifications. Still, there was a part of him that wanted it to slip, wanted someone to notice. Some twisted part that was tired of pretending. And then it happened. One night, distracted, he typed a message without thinking. "You keep teasing like that, I might not make it through the next meeting." He looked up, smiled, until he realized he'd sent it to Anna. His blood went cold. He stared at the screen like it might unsend itself. Her typing bubble appeared. Then vanished. Then nothing. Minutes passed. Then her reply. Who was that meant for? He froze. Every lie he'd told, every excuse, came crashing down in that moment. He tried calling her. She didn't answer. Tried texting again. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say." No reply. She came home late that night. Quiet. Not angry. Just different. She sat down across from him and said, "We need to talk." And just like that, the fantasy collapsed. Jenna didn't matter. The thrill felt cheap. The lie wasn't just exposed. It was dragging everything down with it. He didn't just cheat. He broke something he might never be able to fix. She didn't scream. That's what shook him the most. When Anna sat down, her hands didn't tremble, her voice didn't crack. She just looked at him like someone examining something that used to matter. "How long?" she asked. He opened his mouth but nothing came out. She waited. 3 months, he said quietly. Her face didn't move. She told him she already knew. The message was just confirmation. She'd noticed changes, the shift in energy, the sudden interest in cologne he hadn't touched in years. The late nights. The weird distance. First she thought it was work. Then maybe stress. But then it became obvious. He wasn't hiding a burden, he was hiding someone. Mark tried to explain, as if an explanation would soften what he'd done. He said it was a mistake. That he didn't mean for it to happen. That he loved Anna, not Jenna. That it didn't mean anything. The words felt pathetic as they left his mouth. She listened without interrupting. When he was done, she asked, "Then why didn't you stop?" He didn't have an answer. Because he liked how it made him feel. Because he got addicted to being someone else. Because part of him was selfish enough to think he could get away with it. None of those sounded justifiable out loud. She stood up. "I need time," she said, "to decide what kind of fool I want to be." The days that followed were slow and sharp. She moved through the apartment like a ghost. Present but unreachable. She didn't cook, didn't ask about his day, didn't say goodnight. They slept in the same bed, separated by a wall of silence. Her ring sat untouched on the bathroom counter. He noticed. Jenna texted once. "Everything okay?" He didn't respond. Whatever excitement she gave him now tasted bitter. She was never going to be more than an escape route from the life he ruined. He started skipping work. Couldn't focus. Couldn't eat. He kept replaying that moment. The text, the look on Anna's face, the silence that followed. It was louder than any argument could have been. One morning, Anna wasn't there. Her clothes were gone. So were her books, her toothbrush, and the framed photo from their trip to Paris. No note. Just emptiness. She didn't tell him where she went. She didn't need to. That night, he sat alone in the kitchen, staring at 2 plates and only one appetite. He felt hollow. Not just lonely. Shamefully aware of everything he'd thrown away. There was no dramatic ending, no explosive fight, no second chance waiting around the corner. Just the weight of consequence. His friends stopped calling. A few knew the truth. One even told him, "I don't get it, man. She loved you." He had nothing to say to that. He didn't get it either. Mark had aimed for something exciting, something new. What he hit instead was the end of the best thing he'd ever had. And now, all he could do was sit in the wreckage and wonder why he ever pulled the trigger. It's strange how quiet everything feels after you've ruined your own life. Mornings came slower. Nights felt longer. The apartment, once filled with shared laughter and quiet affection, became a museum of memories. Mark still made coffee for two for the first few days out of habit. Then he stopped. The silence didn't need company. He tried to distract himself. Threw himself into work, into cleaning, into anything that made him feel productive. But nothing filled the space Anna used to occupy. He saw glimpses of her through mutual friends' social media. A new haircut, a dinner out with friends, smiling genuinely. It gutted him. Not because she was doing better, but because she was doing better without him. He thought about calling her, sending a message, asking to meet. He wrote and deleted a dozen apologies. But what could he say that would change anything? Sorry I broke your trust. Sorry I made you feel replaceable. Sorry I thought my ego mattered more than our years together. Words wouldn't fix what he shattered. Jenna reached out once more. Just checking in. He blocked the number. She wasn't the villain in the story, but she didn't belong in it anymore. Whatever they had wasn't love. It was attention, distraction, and a fragile illusion. And illusions don't survive daylight. Days bled into weeks. Mark started noticing the small absences. The scent of her lotion that used to linger in the bathroom. The missing warmth on the left side of the bed. The way the plants she used to care for began to wilt. He didn't know how to keep them alive. One night he sat with a photo of them. Paris, 2019. She was laughing, head thrown back, no idea he was taking the picture. That version of her didn't know what was coming. That version of him didn't either. He barely recognized either face now. He thought about what it meant to love someone. Really love them. Not in the comfortable day-to-day rhythm of things, but in the hard choices. In resisting temptations. In being loyal even when no one's watching. He failed at that. Not because he stopped loving her, but because he stopped protecting what they had. There was no dramatic ending. No final closure conversation. Just a slow fade into consequence. And maybe that was the real punishment. Not losing her in a single moment, but knowing every day that she left because he didn't value her when it mattered. People talk about infidelity like it's an action. A night, a message, a mistake. But it's not. It's a crack that starts small, then spreads through everything you built. By the time you see how deep it runs, it's already too late. Mark didn't just lose Anna. He lost the version of himself he could have been. The man who stayed loyal. Who chose love over ego. Who remembered what mattered before it slipped away. And that's the thing about infidelity. It doesn't just take someone else away from you. It takes you away from yourself.